Welcome to the business of NIL. My name is Ahmed, and today we have a very interesting session. We'll be breaking down athlete branding, name, image, and likeness, NFTs, and we'll be digging deep with a very special guest. Many of you know him as Creative Rob, so he'll be joining us today. He'll be giving us his expert opinion on athlete branding, NIL, NFTs, and also we would love for anybody who has any questions from the audience to shoot their questions through. So as soon as those questions come through, I'll relay them on to Creative Rob, and we will go from there. So he should be joining us any second now, and we'll wait for him to do so. Here he is. Creative Rob. Here we go.
You got me?
Rob, how you doing, my man?
What's up, brother? How you doing, bro?
Very well, thank you, sir. And yourself, how's things?
Things are good. Things are good. By the way, I'm trying these new headsets that I just got from Google Pixel. Did this sound good on your end, the mic?
You sound amazing, man. You sound fantastic.
Perfect. Perfect. That was what's up, man. I appreciate you giving me some time to talk about what's happening in sports. And these are really important issues. So thank you for the time.
No, it's my absolute pleasure, man. So let's get straight into it, man. Tell us a bit about yourself, your background, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Rob Villenueva. I've been in sports for the past about 15 years. I actually started out early on. I'm aging myself, but I started out back in the dot-com era as a network engineer. So I was always in IT, working in digital marketing, and spent about 10 plus years doing that, working for an internet service providers in Silicon Valley. I worked for like AOL, Sun Microsystems, and a couple of other service providers. And then I came back to New York in the mid 2000s, and I was working at a media company, New York Daily News, which you're probably familiar with. And I was working also on the network engineering side. And my brother was catching a lot of national attention, my youngest brother, Charlie Villanueva. And he was catching a lot of national attention as a high school phenom, AAU circuit, playing the McDonald's All-American game. And he had a decision to make about whether he wanted to go to college or go to the NBA. And of course, as a big brother and someone that was well-versed in knowledge with what happens in business, I immediately, came to his need, and as a big brother should, helped guide him through some of his decision-making. And he decided to put his name in the draft in 2003 and then pull out and end up going to UConn, won a championship, then re-enter the draft and spend 11 years in the NBA. And I became his right-hand man. So it was like an interesting transition from coming from IT and computers and technology and engineering, and then had a transition to sports and learn sports marketing and learn sports management. And now I work in sports media. I've been working for the company called the Players Tribune for the past 4 years now, and I absolutely love it. We're in the business of telling athlete stories, and really is a dream job. Sometimes I have to pinch myself because it's like to be able to work with these different athletes across the sport. Like it doesn't matter if it's basketball, football, baseball, volleyball, Olympics, like you name it, we've done it, and it's an amazing opportunity to be in this position.
Fantastic, man. Fantastic. I'm sure you've seen a lot of transition and change since 2003 until now. What would you say are the biggest changes since when you first got into the world of sport?
The biggest changes, social media, Web 2.0. It's funny, with Charlie, I'll give you an example with Charlie back in 2009, I believe it was, 2010. Twitter was around, but athletes were not actively using Twitter. I think only like Shaquille O'Neal was one of the very few that was had a big platform. And he used to do all these wild scavenger hunts. He was really interactive with his audience. So he grew his audience on Twitter pretty fast, speaking about Shaq. And then I was telling Charlie about it. He was like, hey, this Twitter thing is taking off in the sports world. You should do it. And he tried it. And I was like giving him the advice of like, hey, in order for you to connect to the audience, you really have to open up and kind of just break pull the curtains and really show your true self. So one time while he was in the game, they were playing. He was with the Milwaukee Bucks. They were playing against the Boston Celtics, and during the halftime, he actually tweeted, "Oh man, we're down by a few points. Coach wants me to step up. I want to step up." And he hit that publish button, and then the tweet went viral like everywhere around the world because it started the conversation of like how much is too much for athletes to really gain access to their fan base. And they ended up winning the game, and he scored 17 points in the second half. So, like, it didn't affect his basketball, but people would question his intentions. Where was his mind at if basketball was his focus? And just a single tweet. And back then, and even till now, athletes constantly are on their phones during in the locker room, during halftime, during between quarters, before the game and after the game. So the NBA had to come up with a policy. They used to call it the Charlie Villenueva rule, but it became the social media policy for the NBA that prevented them from accessing their phones during the games and 15, 30 minutes before and after, which was crazy. And now that rule has kind of faded out, and more than ever, athletes across all levels, from professional to amateur, have been given this empowerment to want to connect more with their audience and want to continue to build their communities. So we've come a long way from 10 plus years ago, where it was almost prohibited and looked down upon, where it was like, you shouldn't be doing this, where now everyone's doing it.
Wow. Very, very powerful. Trendsetter for sure.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of time with athletes, listening to their stories and basically listening to how they're basically getting through their athlete lives. What are some of the most creative ways that you're hearing athletes are monetizing their personal brands?
Well, in general, I think we are seeing more and more fans connect with athletes, like I mentioned, but they want to connect with the athletes themselves, not the teams, not the leagues, the athletes direct. And it's something that we do so well with the Players Tribune. That's part of our DNA, is that we built that trust factor with the athletes, that they want to come to us to tell their stories, because one of our rules is everything is off the record until you want it on the record. And we really try to empower the athlete's voice by building the safe haven. And I think it's important for student athletes to understand the importance of building their personal brands, taking ownership of this influencing space that continues to evolve. And we're seeing that just now, athletes thinking more strategic about how they build and maintain their brands, short-term and long-term, and also learning that without a distinct vision and proper nurturing of their social media reach and content, their brands can quickly fade away or can quickly get lost with all the competitive voices. Like, everyone's trying to become an influencer, and if you're already in sports, you already have that advantage because you have a built-in audience, whether it's from the school or from the sport itself. And I think it's important that while it's really important for you to perform well, because your performance on the court and on the field drives the value of what your social currency is, athletes shouldn't take for granted that content is king and consistency beats everything. Collaborations lead to growth. It's good to see athletes that are more tech savvy now, more social media savvy now, rethinking their strategies, how they're putting audience first, and they're looking for new ways to connect with the audience. Some of them are doing it through IG stories. Some of them are doing it through the TikTok videos. Some of them are hosting podcasts. Some of them are launching their own YouTube channels and sharing their hobbies. Some of them might be into gaming and decide to do a Twitch channel as well. So it's important that they're being proactive, they're being social, and on the student athlete side, not being afraid to leverage the school's resources. And this is how I think you start to monetize what NIL can give you, is when you're putting the importance of personal brand building ahead of time and making that a priority, just as important as your commitment on the court or on the field. Like, don't get me wrong, like, what you do on the sport, that's number one. But don't take for granted the opportunities you have and the resources that you could tap into, especially as a student athlete in college.
Do you think student athletes in college should have strategies past their time in college? I mean, take the time to build their brand, looking past just the 3-4 years that they're in college, or would you say should those 3-4 years be the be all end all?
No, honestly, like I'm telling you right now, man, and it's like the student athletes who take the most initiative on constantly building their brand and looking at it as a marathon versus a sprint, those are the ones that are going to win. Uh, you'll have the quarterback star athlete, you have the number one guy on the basketball team, or the athlete that's getting all the attention, but the position that NIL has given across all sports, across all student athletes, is those that treat their brand almost like a media company. You want to be, you want to take the approach as an entrepreneur, like put your entrepreneur thinking hat and think that way. If you're looking to build currency and monetize your audience and leverage what you've built, like there's some people that are not about the money, they're just doing it for fun, and that's cool because kids can just be kids. But if you're looking to take a serious approach, you need a serious plan.
Awesome. What would you say are the biggest lessons that you can share with athletes when it comes to monetizing the NIL? Just some key points.
Yeah, this is still pretty new. I feel like we're still in the first inning. The one thing I would say, like, well, a couple of things. The NCAA is not necessarily on your side. They're fighting their battles as well with the laws and with the lawmakers to favor them. And you have to take that into realization really fast. Don't get me wrong, you'll probably have someone that's a point of contact in your school, and some schools already have incorporated NIL programs that you can depend on for questions, but take matters into your own hands. I would say start with thinking about who you're looking to connect with and how does your content help you do that. I feel like with certain athletes that are already looking to establish relationships with brands, feel free to reach out. Feel free to start following them. Feel free to connect with them, engage with them, comment on their feeds, be proactive about it. That can very much lead to new opportunities. And look to post often, look to post with purpose. And like, there's a power to storytelling, and you can convey that post by post and build this outline outside of what you do on the sport to, I would say, people connect with people. So if you're able to provide your fans or your potential fans the human side of you, be more personal, be more intimate with your posts, and also make it a two-way street where you're also engaging, you'll start realizing that you can build that following growth much faster. And I think it's also important to find content pillars and find that balance, like whether you want to do like a 80-20 or 70-30, where this is sports and this is personal, or maybe is 60-30-10, and you're doing sports, whatever that sport is, and you're posting about that, sharing content, but then you're also sharing something about your hobbies, and then maybe you're sharing something that nobody knew about you. The one thing is almost like the law of attraction. Put out what you're looking to gain, and be consistent about it, and you'll start noticing some doors opening up.
Awesome. Before we get into the whole world of NFTs, we'll quickly take a question.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
What do you think the key differences between male and female athletes when it comes to building their brands and NIL opportunities?
So the question is, what do you think the key differences are between, I'm reading it right here in front of me, male and female athletes when it comes to, it's funny because like, I feel like some folks may not want to hear this, but I feel like in this NIL position that we at, females have a lot of leverage because there's an untapped sector in the market. There's, I forget the name, oh man, I'm trying to remember the name. It was a student athlete from LSU. She has over like 1 million followers on Instagram and like over 4 million on TikTok. And she's already struck deals. She's already projected to make a 7-figure deal. And part of that is because if regardless of gender, if you're putting attention and you're being mindful about how you're building your brand, you're going to win regardless of gender. But I feel like the female student athlete, those are sports that are intact. And brands, when it comes to brands launching campaigns, there's levels to it. There could be local, regional, or national. And we've done with the Players Tribune, we've done a number of campaigns. And what brands and clients ask is like, how does that audience look like in this market? Like, I'm trying to reach New York between the ages of 18 to 25. And when you get down to those specifics, if areas that are untapped or not saturated like it is with college football and like it is with men's basketball, those are two big visible sports. But on the female side, I think if they become more active, working with the schools, doing collaborations, even with the men's sports side, doing collaborations to so that way you can connect to a new audience. It's ways that you can leverage to your advantage to continue to build the brand and to attract brands that are looking to do local deals.
Awesome. The world of NFTs, a lot of noise.
It's a big world.
Yeah, a lot of noise, a lot of creative solutions, a lot of platforms coming into the game. What's your thoughts on how athletes can maximize opportunities through NFTs?
Yeah, and I'm assuming the viewers already know what NFTs, but just as a little crash course, NFT stands for non-fungible tokens, and they have exploded this past year in the art world, in the music world, in the sport trading card world as collectibles. It's better viewed as a digital asset that represents a real world object, and that could be through multimedia, digital art. There's a lot of different ways, and it's brought and sold online with digital currency, which is cryptocurrency, and especially on the Ethereum blockchain technology. But with NFTs is, especially how athletes have been taking full advantage, the market of sports for NFTs have widely driven because a number of things have happened in these past year or two. NBA Top Shot has a lot to do with that. For people to digest the idea of having a highlight that they can view on YouTube or view on their phones anywhere else and consider that something of value, that's a hard entry point. But NBA Top Shot has been able to accomplish that, and the numbers speak for itself. So there is an ongoing market that continues to grow. We're still a long way away when it comes to NFTs, but the idea of thinking as NFTs as a digital collectible asset, where the same reason why, like if you think about a sporting card is a piece of paper with a picture on it. Like if I was to take an autographed Shaquille O'Neal rookie card and make a copy of it, the difference is the originality, right? The ownership. I can't replicate that. I can't do a Xerox copy of it and try to sell it. Someone's gonna call my bluff for it. So with NFTs, it really concentrates on representing ownership and tracking all that. So a good example of athletes taking advantage of NFTs, and I don't remember with Evan Mobley, he was the number 3rd pick in this year's draft, the 2021 draft, and he declared for the NBA draft back in April, but he didn't do it your traditional route. He didn't do it through his agent. He didn't do it through some sort of PR angle. He didn't do it through the Players Tribune, which is something that we often do. But he decided to make the announcement through an NFT, where he released his NFT as a collection where whatever owner purchases is entitled to get 2 signed jerseys of him. They're entitled to 2 tickets during the game. So now there's a mixture of digital world and real world that's happening, and real interaction that is being authenticated by the athletes themselves. So that sold for, I think, 2.1 Ethereums, which translates to US dollars. At the time, it was like over $2,000, and now it's about, so the Ethereum went up, and it's about 6,000-7,000. So it's such a new space, and there's a lot of future developments, but they're proven concepts. And with NIL and NFTs working together, athletes should think outside the box when it comes to an athlete wanting to either partner up with a creator or digital artist to do something cool, or maybe it's just you want to create a cool experience. But think of it as a contract versus something that you could, show off on your phone. These experiences, like the fandom is crazier than ever. And when, back then when I was telling Charlie about tweeting during halftime, he pulled the curtains halfway to give fans an inside look. And the more you can think of the relationship between you and the fan, the more ideas you can come about with NFTs.
Absolutely. It's definitely been used more as a community builder nowadays, and an access point for fans to really engage with their athletes, which is pretty awesome. And we're seeing a lot more different things moving forward. And talking about NFTs, in the coming weeks, we'll be launching our own NFT marketplace, and we'll have a few interesting athletes on there. So that's just a little plug.
Nice. Yeah, that's dope. I'm seeing a lot of like just dedicated marketplaces that are now having their own little niche. Like I think it's a company named by Skybox. They're just doing like NFTs for Division I football players and basketball players, and I think Olympians too. But it's just interesting that how we're in this early stage. And I remember it. I was at the heart of the .com era back in the mid '90s when I was living in Silicon Valley as an engineer. All these venture capitalist companies, like if you had an idea of pets.com, windows.com, doors.com, lights.com, whatever it is, the domain was available. So if you had that and didn't have a plan, they were throwing money your way. And I'm seeing a little bit of that happening now where, people are excited about the idea and the concept around NFTs. So like there's going to be some correction that's going to happen with these numbers. Not saying that the bubble's going to burst, but these are some outrageous numbers. So if you're looking for a quick cash grab as a student athlete, you can go ahead and do that, but I can tell you that that's not going to be your best plan. You got to think about this long term and think about adding this as another component to your community building.
Well, just to validate that, I've spoken to two agents this week. Two college two of them have football athletes, and they have guarantees without the sale. Guarantees pre the sales, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Wow.
Guarantees.
Wow.
Pre the sale.
Yes. See, like you'll have a lot of these cash grabs from media brands to marketing brands to athletes themselves to reps. Like I'll give a shout out to Des Bryant. I don't even remember Des Bryant, Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. He's
still based out here in Dallas, but he's taking a whole different approach where he's like reverse engineer the whole thing and building it from the ground up. And I like his approach and his long-term commitment to the NFT world because he just didn't dive in for the cash grab. He learned about it. He put the right team together, and he's offering his resources to other athletes. And the artwork that they put out is dope too. It's cool. But I feel like his approach, thinking about this more long-term, is where he's really going to win. And a lot of folks are just starting to scratch the surface. But when it comes back to like NIL and how can student athletes take advantage of platforms and technology like this, like you got to first figure out your why and your what before anything. You can't just go into it just because you think it's going to get you more followers or you think it's going to get you some cash. And I know some student athletes are starving for buying their next meal. But be patient and really know what you want. I mean, if your thing is not about looking to play professionally, and you know that the college era will come to, your sports career is going to come to an end at the college level, then start planting those seeds early and leverage what the platform and the window that the school offers. Whether you're a D1 school or D3 school, like these schools have attention, and you have to figure out how do you want to leverage your attention to your benefit.
Absolutely, man. I think this is an awesome way to wrap it up. Mr. Rob, thank you so much. You've been absolutely amazing. If people want to get in touch with you online, how do they do so?
For sure. I'm robvillenueva.com is my main website. Also creativebyrob.com is also my main another website. But Creative by Rob is my social media handle on all social media platforms, Twitter, LinkedIn, yeah, you name it, I'm pretty much on it. And this social media growth, the social media life that we all live in, and how we're transitioning to this Web 3.0 with artificial intelligence and with blockchain technology. It's something that's inevitable. So don't overstress. Like I can't stress enough, especially for student athletes. Like you need to have fun, and wherever you're having fun at, and if you're able to connect with a thriving community, then stick there. You don't have to be in every platform. So yeah, just remember to have fun, and this is always going to be an ongoing thing. So whatever you do at day one is going to be 100 times better when you're doing that at day 100. So don't get discouraged.
Awesome. Rob, thank you so much for joining me on the business of NIL. Take care, my man.
Appreciate it, brother. Have a good one. Peace.
Peace.